Hey everyone, Reid Henrichs with Ridge, and the purpose of today's video is to talk about the AK rifle, how to maintain it, how to lubricate it, and keep it going. There's a lot of myths about the AK rifle, and they float around all over the place, whether in magazines or online, or even in certain training classes. We get a lot of questions about the AK rifle. For example, is it true that you don't have to really clean or lubricate it? Well, that's actually not true. You do have to clean it and keep it lubricated. All rifles will fail. It's just simply a question of how often do you want them to. Another question we'll get is oil sufficient to keep the AK running? Well, guys, snow is enough to keep the AK running, although it won't do it long. We want to use a good lubrication that's going to stay put even when the gun gets hot, and AKs do get very hot, just like all the other rifles. So I'm going to show you my personal method on how I keep my AK rifles running and reliable each and every time you press the trigger, and this will remain true whether you're shooting 1 round or 10,000 rounds. Let's get to it. Alright everybody, it's your typical AK rifle. So when you're going to clean it, it's not that big of a deal. It's quite simple, and 12-year-olds all over the world are taking these apart and cleaning them every day, so I'm sure that you can do it too. It's not that difficult. So we're going to clean it. Take your mag out. And your guns should be loaded, and if they're not, you're just simply wrong. So unload them, because there's a couple more others in the room, so don't worry about that. Nobody's going to get the drop on us. Alright, let's take it apart, remove your dust cover. Take your recoil spring out, slide it out just like this. And of course, remove your bolt. And that's your disassembled AK rifle. These are Zenitco rails. I got these from Rob Ski at AK Operators Union and bought the top and the bottom rail both, but you can get whatever you want. I'm trying this out. It's worked well for us so far. First things that I like to clean on my AK are the moving parts. The bolt carrier, the bolt, those kind of things. Today I'm going to be using some CLP from Break Free, although you can use Hoppy's 9 or whatever cleaning solution that you want. I really don't care. Anything that removes carbon, spit, mucus, whatever you want to use, just wipe the carbon off. As a Marine, and being that it was the Marine Corps birthday a couple days ago, I'm using CLP. Why? Because I like the taste and it's sterile. While I'm cleaning this, guys, what I'm also doing is that I'm looking for things on my bolt. I'm looking for any kind of wear, any cracks in there, any kind of carbon under the extractor, which is right here. This is what removes the shell casing from the rifle. This is what removes the shell casing, so make sure that that's nice and stiff, that it'll move and eject it. I like to clean the bolt face as well. Alright, I like to remove all that and get in there. If you want to use a little brush and you want to brush up underneath there, underneath the extractor, to make sure all the little carbon and little giblets get out of there, that's cool too. So what I'll do is I'll take a little brush and I'll brush up underneath there and get all that stuff out of there and check right around the bolt face right in here. Make sure that's all clear and free of carbon, because we want our round to seat flushly. Alright, so just brush out all that little thing. This doesn't take long, guys. It takes, 10-15 seconds to do that. I like to get underneath the lugs. I really like to do that, but especially pay attention to that bolt face that we talked about. This is the most important part of the bolt that you're going to want to keep clean. Alright, next what we're going to do is we're going to take the bolt carrier and the piston, and these are connected. Unless you know something I don't know. Alright, they're connected. So what we're going to do is we're just going to knock off all that carbon. You can see, just like around that piston right here. Don't overly clean this, because the first round you fire again, it's going to look just like this. Okay, so just brush off all the excess caked on carbon. There we go, jewelry polish clean for an AK. And we're just going to clean that, get all that carbon and stuff out of there. Once again, I'm testing stuff, I'm moving this. This should flex, okay? The AK was designed to flex. This piston attached to the bolt carrier should flex a little bit, rattle around a little bit. That's what it's designed to do. Wipe it down with a rag just like so. Get up underneath there. If you look at this channel where the bolt moves, clean that. Make sure that's free of gunk and all kinds of caked on stuff. What I do is also look at my bolt carrier, make sure everything's okay. Make sure everything is solid, that there's no cracks in there once again, because remember, this gets beat to crap. This shoots back and beats up against that rear trunnion. So we want to be checking that for any kind of wear. Also checking it for any kinds of cracking, etc. Alright guys, get underneath these notches in here, in these little grooves. This is where the bolt carrier rides on the rails. Make sure those are clean. Just take your little brush, knock out all those carbon deposits in there as well, and then you should be good to go. It's not an involved process. We're just simply knocking carbon off of there, and we're making sure that things are free and clear to move around. Last but not least, we're going to clean the receiver. On an AK, there is no upper receiver or lower receiver like an AR. I mean, this is what you get, okay? So we're gonna check inside of here, make sure it's clear, make sure there's not a whole lot of debris inside there. I'm gonna wipe down the rails on the inside, if you can see me doing this right up here. I'm gonna wipe down those rails. I'm going to check down there by the chamber and the feed ramps right inside here. This is where the bullet feeds into the chamber. We want to make sure that's especially clear. So we want to wipe that down nice and good and make sure that it's nice and clear around the chamber and around these areas where the bolt slides in there and pushes up against that barrel. Because that, we want to make sure that the bolt is seated properly, clear out all that carbon and all that gunk from out here. Alright, once again, I'm looking down here, I'm looking inside here, I'm looking underneath the hammer. You know, if you want to open that up and look inside the hammer, okay, it's clear, it's nice and clean inside there. A little bit of those red speckles from all that quality Wolf match grade ammo that, you know, everyone says you can't hit anything past 200 with an AK. This may surprise you guys, but this past weekend we had dudes with AKs hitting at 600 yards. So you can do it, even with or without Wolf, or without that premium match grade ammo out of there. But no, all joking aside, just make sure it's nice and clear inside the trigger group and nice and clear around the hammer, and it doesn't take much. Oftentimes people say, well, how often should I take this out? How often do I take the gas tube out and clean inside there? I'll tell you a little secret, guys, I never have. I never have. This rifle's got 40,000 rounds through it, and I haven't done it yet, and it runs fine and it works. If you want to reach inside the trunnion with a cloth or a patch and you just want to kind of poke around inside there and pull a little bit of the extra stuff in there, you can. But as far as cleaning the gas tube, guys, I just haven't done it. And I've shot corrosive ammo. I've shot non-corrosive ammo. I live in Tennessee, so it's humid and hot. So if anything's going to rust, it's going to be here. And it hasn't yet. Okay, so that brings us to lubrication. Alright, lubrication is important for an AK just like it is on any other rifle. The first place that I put lubrication is on the bolt carrier. You can see there's silver. You can see exactly the spots where it's wearing from running into the rifle. So what I do is I'll put some grease there. And I use grease, that's what I use. I do not use oil on any of my guns because it runs off and burns off. Grease stays put. Works in any conditions, guys, and it's cheap. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put the grease here. Notice how I'm keeping the piston dry. All I put it on is this bolt carrier right here. If you want to hit a little bit of these rails right here, that's cool too. Alright, leave it be. Just put a little bit on there. And if you ask how much grease should I put on there, my answer is that you can't put too much of it on there because the rifle's going to throw off the excess. But I would put a visible coat. And I hope you can see in detail what this looks like on mine. So guys, you can see how much lubrication I put on mine. It's a visible coat of grease, and it doesn't matter what color grease you use, red, white, green, purple, black, they all work the same. All right, I use red because it's a communist gun. Why not use the color of world oppression? So when we look at all this here, guys, when we're looking at the grease, it's all right here, and it's a visible layer of lube, and that's how we lube the bolt carrier. Let's go to the bolt. So what I like to do is put a little bit on the stem. You can see the silver marks. That means there's friction. So I want to try to keep as much friction off there as possible, not only for the smooth running of the gun, but the parts will last longer. Although if you wear out an AK bullet, you're doing a lot more shooting than I do, and man, I average 6 figures a year in ammunition, so you're doing something right. Keep going. If you want to put a little bit on the lugs, that's cool too. We're going to do that just a little bit. You don't need a lot on there, just enough to have it slide into the chamber, or the lock into the barrel. Not much. So that's what we do for lube, guys. Once again, just drop it in there like this. I like to drop mine in up, like so. Rotate it clockwise. Pull it out. That is your assembled bolt and bolt carrier group. You may want to check your recoil spring as well. I just look at it, make sure that there's no cracks. And once again, I'm looking at it, make sure it's pretty good. It is. What if you want to take a little bit of CLP, like right here, and if you want to spray a little bit on there to keep it lubricated, that's cool. You don't have to. I like this. It just makes it a little bit more smooth. So go ahead and just put some CLP on there, break free. You could use these rim oil wipes too. All right, these are like $6 at Walmart, but they're great. When we go put this back together, guys, go ahead and put your rifle up like so. Take your bolt, make sure it's extended just like this. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our bolt carrier right in. Make sure it's all the way to the rear. Push down, push forward. That's in. Take your recoil spring, shove it in the bolt carrier, put it back in the notch, just like so. This is the hardest part of the whole process, your dust cover. Shove it all the way in the notches. And then the obligatory slap. How do I test to make sure my AK is working? Run the bolt, press the trigger, hold it to the rear, run the bolt again, release your trigger, press it again, run it, release it, safety on. It is good to go. And of course the most important part of this entire process is rocket, racket. Loaded rifle that's cleaned, good for another 3,000 rounds. So you notice that I didn't clean the bore on my rifle. I haven't in 40,000 rounds, and I haven't cleaned it on any of my rifles in years. They continue to get better. They continue to shoot tighter. They continue to work. End of story. If you want to clean it, cool. I don't. Hope you found the information in this video helpful. If you did, like me on Facebook. Link is down below. And subscribe to the channel. If you want to get some training on that rifle, we'll teach you how to shoot it out to 300 yards in Rifleman 1, out to 600 yards in Rifleman 2, even those inaccurate junky AKs, believe it or not. Some maybe with iron sights. Come on out to Valor Ridge, we'll teach you how to do just that. This is Reid Henrichs of Valor Ridge reminding you, the lessons that we learn are written on the tombstones of others. We'll see you on the ridge.
So, what Marx and Mao are saying is that you cannot bow down to the imperialist bourgeoisie decadence. You must remain loyal to the party.